Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Six Figure Systems podcast. Today, for episode 20, I wanted to talk all about something that is really important to me and to, I'm sure, every single one of you, which is putting good into the world. I know that every single one of you, as a service-based business, created your business to make the world a little bit better. And we're going to be talking all about how that can really shift things for your business. So first and foremost, we're going to be talking about the power of positivity. Then I'm going to get nerdy for a minute, as you know I love to do. And we're going to be talking all about how the science behind positivity and how it neurologically creates a psychological flow for you to get into that can help you serve even more people. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the compound effects of the small actions that you take. The more that you take these smaller positive actions, how it can create a ripple effect for your business and for the world around you. So, very important episode today. First things first, when we're thinking about positivity, I tend to be a pretty positive person. And this isn't about toxic positivity where we're putting positivity on everything. I am a firm believer that life is 50-50. I truly believe that the more that I look at life, there are good things that happen, and then there are not so good things that happen in the world. And I think that people feel different ways about all things. I actually went through last year and I ranked my energy levels on a scale of 1 to 10. One being like I was just sluggish, really struggling, and 10 being like I'm 10 out of 10, things are going great. And it was fascinating because over 52 weeks in the year, I actually found that I was at like a level 5. It was like 5.5 when I did an average of my energy levels for the entire year combined. And I was like, of course, because life is 50-50 a lot of the time. And I think that when I talk about positivity and putting good into the world, I think that people think that positivity is weak, that there are parts of us that see us putting kindness and goodness out into the world as something that is some it feels like something that is not something that can move mountains. It just feels like fluff, you know? And I want you to know that positivity is powerful. I have found that positivity, the more positive that I have, the more positive feelings that I've created in the world, and the more positive feelings that I can give to other people, the more we can do incredible things. I'm going to do a later episode about the difference between positivity and the difference between and how it supercharges the way that you show up in the world and how you show up in the world when you are showing up to different areas, when you are feeling positive, when you are radiating that positivity, when it's coming out of every single pore of you, it creates better results because the way that you think about yourself, the way that you think and show up in the world, it creates your results. Because if you think about it, and this is an oversimplification of a future episode I'm going to do about the self-coaching model and the psychology behind this. But if you think about it, the way that you think and show up in the world, it creates the way that you feel. And when you feel good, you do more things most of the time. When you feel, and these are oversimplification, of course, we're putting good, we're putting bad in quotation marks for any of you that are listening to this. I don't typically like to give emotions like rankings, like this is a good emotion, this is a bad emotion. However, I think that when I'm feeling a net positive emotion in my frame of reference, I do so much for the world and I create amazing results. So I think that this idea that positivity is weak is something that is a message that's been, I feel like truly that has been said to us to keep us from doing really amazing big work in the world. Because when you feel positive, when you feel this importance of the movement that your business is creating, it is powerful. it is strong. And I think that when we think about kindness in general, putting kindness and goodness out into the world, I think that a lot of people try and downplay how important positivity is. They say kindness is naive. You know what I mean? And I think for me personally, a lot of the reasons when people see me, they see a very positive person. They see that I am someone who is putting a lot of, I smile a lot, I am very friendly. And I think that they think it is because I have been sheltered from some of the dark things that happen in the world. And I think that it's really interesting because I think that one of the reasons why I show up with the positivity that I do is because I've seen a lot of not so great things in the world. And I've seen and experienced a lot of not so good things in the world. And for me, I think I know how rough things can get. And I never know what someone else is experiencing that I'm encountering. And I want to create in them an experience where they feel the positivity coming from me because I have no idea what they're experiencing. And I want to be part of the good that they're experiencing. And I want them to know how important it is that they matter, that they just their existence is making the world better. And that's why I think it's one of the most important things to put more good in. Just because we do know, I think everyone who listens to this podcast, you know that life can get rough sometimes. Life isn't always easy. And I truly don't know why things happen in the world. And this is my philosophy. Feel free to take it or leave it. But for me, I know that I don't know why lots of things happen in the world because there are some truly horrific things that happen in the world. And I don't know why they happen. And I'm never going to pretend to. However, I do know that you can I like to live my life finding a reason, finding something that I can do from the things that I've experienced. Some things I might share on this podcast, some things you might never hear about. But I choose to take the things that have happened in my life that were less than grand and use it to bring goodness to other people. And I think that that is something that is powerful and that is something that is good in the world. So, very exciting start to this episode. A little deeper than the usual ones, but it's something that I think is truly important that I want you to ground yourself in every single moment that you are in your business. And I want you to know that every little small thing that you do, it's creating a net positive in the world. And I'm so grateful that you are doing the work that you're doing in the world. Now, to take a moment and get into the scientific reasons behind this. There is a book that I have not read, but I've heard a quote from called it's something like The Science of Happiness. My former coach and manager at the yoga studio that I used to work at, Jackie Murphy, who's incredible, shared this with me. And she was saying that it's called Hardwiring Happiness, I believe is the book. It's been now I think 6 years since she told me about this. And so forgive me if I am misquoting. However, the quote goes that it takes 5 positive thoughts to replace every negative thought. And that quote has stuck with me because I want you to think about the negative thinking, quote unquote, again, not to label things good or bad, but from the perspective that our brains are hardwired for negativity. When we are thinking about how the human brain has evolved, a lot of our more primitive responses had to do with safety and looking out for safety. So for us as human beings, if we heard a rustle in the bushes and we were like, oh, must be nothing, what happened is it could be a tiger and it could kill us. If we were like, oh, that person doesn't think badly of me, I'm not going to get excommunicated from the tribe if we're thinking about like hunter and gather species of humanity, Homo sapiens as a whole, what would happen is we got excommunicated and if we were rejected, failed, or got abandoned, it meant certain death because we were on our own. Our brains still function like that 80% of the time. And what happens is you want to think about your brain is hardwired for negativity. It's designed to seek out the problems to prevent you from getting hurt, which is a really useful tool if channeled appropriately. Now, instead of physical danger, the majority of us experience emotional danger. And our brains physically think that emotional dangers are actually going to create a physical danger for us. That's why if somebody mocks you, if somebody puts a nasty comment on a post that you do, it feels like you are physically dying and it feels as scary as death. That's why posting and getting visibility actually feels terrifying. So you have to consciously redirect and rewire your brain for positivity. It is not something that is innate. It is something that takes effort but is something that is worth doing. Because the more that you can think about the positive outcomes of things, the more you're going to become solution oriented. Now, again, this is a grotesque oversimplification of some very deep concepts, but I think it's important for you to understand these concepts at that theoretical level so that you can apply it in your business in the daily levels. Because one of the things that is also really important to be thinking about is your brain. There is a polyvagal theory. So this again is a very, very in-depth concept that I'm going to give you a brief theoretical 1,000 miles in the air view of, because that polyvagal theory says that when you feel unsafe, when your brain, and technically these little cells in your brain called neuroceptors, are looking out for threat constantly. So within that, they're like, oh, that person didn't respond right away. They must hate me. This person is, they didn't like a post. That means that I'm being abandoned and this could mean certain death. So your brain is constantly looking out for threats. And as you're doing things in your business, you're creating a lot of new change, a lot of newness. And what happens is your brain thinks that change is bad and it puts you into what's known as the fight, flight, freeze, and even fawn, which is like FAWN, people pleasing and things like that. It puts your nervous system into a fight response, a freeze response, a flight response, or a fawn response. And so what happens is when your brain is feeling triggered, the polyvagal theory is like a bell chart. Feel free to look that up. And again, I think I'll probably do like a podcast later on just about that. But what happens is your brain literally, when you are triggered, even if it's like a small trigger or a big trigger, your brain actually cuts off blood flow from your prefrontal cortex. So what's happening is you literally logically can't think or function to actually create solutions. So when people talk about being like solution oriented versus problem focused, what happens is it takes you regulating your nervous system in order to be able to create logical solutions. So creating that hardwiring for positivity, having those 5 positive thoughts to replace every negative thought, is literally going to make you a better business owner, because you are going to create better solutions, because you're going to be able to think logically. So you want to be thinking about that as you go about your business. You want to gain awareness for what you're thinking when you are in your business. Are you thinking, no one will like this? It's going to be terrible. Nothing is working. Nothing is working was my favorite thought when I was growing my business. And that made me a less effective CEO, because I wasn't focusing on the positive, because I wasn't focusing on the things that were going well. I wasn't able to make better decisions. And that also led to the chaotic tornado to potato experience, building the plane as I flew it. Think about that analogy even of itself. It's scary. And if your brain is scared, you're not going to take good action from that place. Now, in good, bad, I signed a lot of people and made a lot of money from feeling quote unquote negative emotion. And again, you're gonna feel it 50% of the time. So it's important to know that even when you feel less than stellar, you can still serve and you can still make money in your business. So I'm not saying that if you feel any negativity at all, your business is sunk, because bad news bears. You're gonna feel negative, quote unquote, half of the time. So that's not the goal of this podcast. Positivity and negativity are two parts of the same coin. You're going to be feeling both ways. However, one of the things that I want you to consider is putting more good into the world creates more positive momentum for you, and it creates more positive momentum for you and your business. Now, when we are thinking about the topic of a couple of episodes ago, the motivational triad, I want to clear and how to motivate yourself, I think was the name of the podcast. I will link it below. But one of the things that I want you to understand is that you doing this work to really focus on positivity, putting good into the world, and creating this regulated sense of self that is able to then serve other people and become with solutions is what I think we're meant to do on this planet, is evolve as human beings. I think that the next level of human beingness, if we're thinking about evolution as a whole, is to think beyond ourselves. I think that and again, I will link that motivational triad, thinking about your conserving energy, seeking pleasure, and avoiding pain. That's how our brains are supposed to function based on evolution thus far. And I think that our job is to evolve beyond that. I think in order to get into the accomplishment triad, which is to seek success instead of seeking pleasure from things that are comfortable for us, instead of seeking pain, instead of avoiding pain, to avoid regret, and instead of conserving energy, to become energized by our people, I really do think that that is the next level for us as human beings. And it thrills me to think about, because and when I say instant gratification and self-focused, I do not mean that you are selfish. I mean that it is something that is innate, that it is something that is not accusatory at all, and it's not negative. It's just the default for the human brain. So I want you to hear that and understand that, and also strive to do more than that. And that's what we are doing as service providers. We have to think beyond ourselves in order to serve. And I want you to make that process easier. So I'll include that also. However, so that's like the science behind all of positivity. But I want you to also think about how exciting it is. And I want to give you some real life application of things that you can do to create this positive momentum in your business, and what putting good into the world can do for you starting this week. So I want you to think about, for you, when we're thinking about managing leads, nurturing your current audience. Okay, leads, remember, are people that are interested parties, people that would be a really good fit for your service, and thinking about other businesses that you could collaborate with. I want you to think about that frame of your business. And this is my favorite area to consider putting good into the world, because when you are bringing in more people to your business, or businessy terms, generating leads, and you're nurturing the people who are currently in your audience, nurturing leads, or just taking care of your people, nurturing your network, what happens is you are creating a movement of positivity in the world. And I want you to think back to, if you are managing leads and you go out and you talk to some people that are in your current network today, I want you to think about how amazing it is for them to experience you reaching out to them, and also speaking to the people that are in your audience in an empowered way. Thinking about this amazing future that you can see for them, something that they can't see for themselves, and speaking to them in that way. When someone believes in you, what that does for you is it creates belief in yourself. I want you to think back at this very moment of someone that you admire, look up to, or respect. And I want you to think about one of those people. And I want you to think about just one thing that they said that stuck with you. I just had my coach, Stacey Bayman, one of my business coaches, who is incredible. She said that, like, I was always meant to be this leader in the world. She told me that last Thursday on a coaching call, and I broke down because she could see something in me that I couldn't yet see in myself. I want you to think of the people in your audience. They need someone to believe in them. They need someone to think about them as a better version of themselves than they can currently see themselves in. When you provide your service for people, it transforms who they are as a person. It creates an experience for them that they are really feeling for themselves, that they are feeling transformed. And so for you to see them as something bigger and better than they are currently is transformational in and of itself. And whether it's just a video of you saying hi to them in their messages, or it is something that you're experiencing on a bigger scale, bringing positivity to other organizations, thinking about talking to, do collaborations, presentations, be a reference for people, that puts more good into the world. It gets people thinking about bigger and different opportunities than they might have considered for their businesses. And when you can reach other people at that level, just sharing what you do, sharing your expertise, sharing the knowledge of what you have and what you do, it is so valuable and it creates good into the world, even if those people never respond. I find that the more that I give and the more that I communicate and the more that I just express positivity in the world, what I've found is that the more that comes back to me in ways I never expected. And I don't do it for the reciprocation of positivity. And I think that just having this like committed nature, and there's this idea of being committed but not attached to certain people. So I think about being committed to putting a lot of good into the world and making the world a better place. Like literally, like the mugs that I have for Six Figure Systems say like be the change you wish to see in the world, which is a quote from Gandhi. It's my favorite. And even though it's cheesy, that is a part of my movement in the world, is to put more good into the world, put more motivated, kind, supportive, genuine people into the world that are providing their service, which I genuinely believe is the fullest expression of you is to serve with your unique gifts and talents. And so for you, I want you to think about how can you put more good into the world? Not expecting anything in return, but just putting a little bit more good into the world, knowing that what you do, sometimes you forget because you're so in it. You're an expert at what you do. You're an expert at the service you provide. So of course you forget that what you do can really help people. I want you, as you listen to this podcast, to remind yourself that what you do is amazing. That it is something that someone needs in their life and wants to experience from you starting this week. And I want you to know that what you have to do is valuable and is going to help other people. So there is a poem called Success, and I believe it's attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson, but it might actually be from another poet. So apologies if I'm misquoting. But this is actually one of my favorite poems that my dad shared with me when we were a kid. And I want you to come back to this whenever this podcast, whenever you need it, because a lot of times when we are in our business and we're thinking about all the effort that you're exerting in your business, you forget that you've already put so much good into the world right now. As you're listening to it, you've already made a phenomenal difference in the world. And everything after this gets to be the cherry on top. So here is this poem, Success. And I just want to read it to you as a reminder that what you are doing and what you have done is already amazing, created so much positivity in the world, and you're just getting started. You're going to bring so much more good into the world. So the poem says, to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics, endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. Every single one of you, as you listen to this right now, you are successful. You are amazing. Go out and put a lot of good into the world because you are making a difference.